Cygames and Arxis are attempting to rebalance Cagliostro by nerfing some of her stronger tools and buffing some of her weaker tools to encourage more diverse playstyles. Let's get into things by looking at her close heavy attack. Previously, if you connected with just the first hit, the opponent would be left in a standing position, meaning that there really wasn't too many opportunities to get additional links off of this, so you were encouraged to let the entire thing rock. Of course, this meant for things like a counter hit, if you're trying to get particular punishes against like a DP, for example. Options were fairly limited here. For example, Mehen wouldn't connect, even with all hits connecting. Now, if you connect with only the first hit of close heavy, the opponent falls down. This gives you some new counter hit combo routing for Cagliostro. Going into this medium Mehen could prove to be pretty useful for some routes. We'll take a look at the combo routing later in the video. Previously, far standing heavy was -5 on block. Thanks to the range, you were pretty much safe at any given moment thanks to the fact that you were spaced out. So it was pretty functional for Cagliostro just to poke out with this normal and then decide if she wanted to go for a follow-up here or if she just wanted to end her pressure and see if she could create a spacing trap against you. Far heavy now has 4 more frames of recovery. So now it's -9 on block and -36 on whiff. This should mean that it's more likely for the opponent to actually contest Cagliostro in the spacings where she's pressing this button, at least without the support of her traps. 2U has been nerfed as well. The hurt box has been expanded upwards. Previously, you could use this to low profile some jump-ins from some characters, basically allowing you to catch them off guard and even in some situations punish their jump-ins. So this could be a pretty niche anti-air option for Cagliostro with a good read. Pretty risky overall since, you probably would want to rely on 2H instead, but this definitely had some annoyances. With the expanded vertical hitbox, Cagliostro is less likely to low-profile jump-ins. So a little bit of a nerf, but again, I think you would more often than not prefer to go for a 2 heavy here. There's a lot of buffs to go over with Collapse, but let's go ahead and try to address them one by one. For Conjure, the lateral knockback has been reduced. Previously, if I was point-blank range here, and I placed a medium trap, Conjure would knock the opponent into this trap. You can tell that this was the spacing before. Pretty good distance for Cagliostro. So let's see what the new lateral knockback on Collapse Conjure looks like. As you can see, the opponent is left right next to you now, meaning that you should be able to actually bully them with things like your close normals as opposed to dash light. However, it also means that you're not going to be launching them into some traps. Instead of comboing into this medium trap, for example, when we place it right next to the opponent, instead, the trap will trigger on their wake up. So this will have some implications here that Cagliostro players can explore and fiddle with. Additionally, when you use Conjure in the air, the recovery has been reduced. Previously, Cagliostro could be fairly negative here. But that's kind of expected, just given the whole duration of the animation. You're -5 here after landing, so technically the opponent could punish you for going for this. As you can see here, I got punished in this situation. For Collapse Conjure mid-air, there's now less recovery. Cagliostro should be able to be safer then when she's using this move. Pretty much the moment that you land as Cagliostro, you should be able to block immediately, so the opponent is less likely to get grounded punishes on you. Conjure Fire used to be 18 frame startup. You can tack this on pretty much at the end of a triple strike sequence. And off of your close heavy. And off of your close medium. But not off of close light. Collapse Fire now has 1 more frame of startup. So now it comes out of frame 19. You can still combo into this from your close heavy. Any hit of it. Including that new first hit that we discussed earlier. However, you can no longer combo into it from close medium. Well, that's okay. You can still combo into it from your triple strike sequence, so it's not too bad. Before I go further, I need to correct myself. In my previous clips, I was referring to Cagliostro's 5U as Conjure when it's actually called Collapse. When you press 5U, it becomes Conjure Collapse. And if you press forward 5U, so 6U, it becomes Collapse Fire. So that's my mistake right there. With that being rectified, let's go ahead and talk about the remaining buffs to Collapse and its Fire. On levels 2, 3, 4, and 5, the final hit of all these moves have more hit stop to them. So let's go ahead and take a look at these behaviors on hit previously. This is level 2. You were plus 4 here, so there wasn't anything you could link off of. This is level 3. You were plus 6, so you should be able to link lights off of this. However, thanks to the spacing of things, it could be a little bit tight. At level 4, you were plus 8. So you could link off of this as well, but again, you needed particular spacing. You could get a far light pretty consistently. And if you're close enough, close medium, but not your far medium. At level 5, you got a launch. And again, you were able to link a close medium here. And even a close heavy. Now, all of the final hits of the leveled up version of Conjuring Fire have 3 more frames of hit stop to them. So, level 2, you're actually plus 7. Which means you can immediately start getting links. Such as that. So that's pretty nice. You get a single level up here, and if you're able to fit this into some situations, you should be able to get pickups. At level 3, now you're plus 9. Which means you should be able to link it to close medium. Or close heavy, excuse me. Again, a pretty big increase in damage. From there, it should just be pretty easy to get whatever you want. Although it seems like the pushback on the level 4 version doesn't really work with that close heavy. I say that, and of course I get it. Might be a little finicky. Level 5, of course, you get the launch, and then you get a little bit of better Okizeme from it. But, of course, we were able to link before. So we're still able to link after. Pretty nice stuff that should mean that Cagliostro finds more utility into weaving these buffs into her combos. While we've seen that Collapse has been improved, we have to start going into some other nerfs for Cagliostro, namely to her Mehen traps. All 4 versions, light, medium, heavy, and ultimate, have reduced duration. Previously, the light, medium, and heavy would last for 560 frames. Quite a long time. This allowed Cagliostro to set the trap in and force you to respect it or have to interact with it for several seconds. So how much did they reduce the duration? A pretty staggering 6 seconds. So instead of lasting for 560 frames, it now lasts for 320 frames, meaning that you have to take advantage of this pretty quickly as Cagliostro, and you can't simply just rely on having the opponent being forced to respect these traps for almost 10 seconds. As for the ultimate version of Mehen, it used to last 380 frames. So over 6 seconds. As for the ultimate trap duration, it only lost a second of active frames, going from 380 frames to 320. So still over 5 seconds. Very comparable to what the normal traps last out. In fact, all of the traps now last the same duration. Now for another nerf to the light and medium version of Mehen in particular. Previously, Cagliostro could use these versions of the move to delay her falling momentum to make the opponent second guess their anti-air timing. Just as a demonstration. Now, Cagliostro will begin to fall 9 frames faster on the light and medium version of Mehen. This should mean that she's less likely to bait out anti-airs using this option. And it also means that they're more in line with the EX version of the move itself. As you can see, though, it still works plenty fine. But you're going to have to delay the traps a lot earlier. And you won't be as advantageous or be approaching from the air as often here. So this could have a lot of other implications as well, but I wanted to highlight this. While we've discussed the nerfs to the various versions of Mehen, we can actually now talk about some buffs to her calculation. Light and heavy have increased forward tracking on them. So, for example, you can see that they come out at a fixed range pretty far away. But once Cagliostro gets close enough to the opponent, they track. That was the light version. For the heavy version, The range is not quite full screen. Just a dash below it. Now let's check out the new forward tracking on the light and heavy versions of calculation. You can get a little bit closer with the light version and have it start tracking the opponent, meaning that Cagliostro has a bit of a better threat at some of these neutral spacings. Now, for the EX version of the move, it's still not quite full screen. But it feels like a step forward as opposed to a dash forward. Again, this should improve her mid-group screen neutral play, as well as perhaps give her some new ranges on combo routes. Ultimate calculation also has a very nice buff to it. Previously, if you hit the opponent with this move, they were just put into a knockdown. Great. This was very limiting for the combo utility of the move, and also discouraged you from just poking with it. Great. Sure, you got a knockdown so you were able to approach the opponent, but that was about it. And now, you get a ground bounce on ult calculation, allowing you to extend. Excellent. This opens up a lot of new combo routing opportunities for Cagliostro, which we'll look at in a little bit. Ultimate Alexandria has a couple of adjustments as well, namely to the launch height and to its upward hitboxes, as well as what happens with your opponent's distance from you. So, previously, you could create a side swap like this against the opponent, and then, of course, use your spare body follow-ups to reclaim the corner. Now for all the specific changes to ult Alexandria. The launch height when hitting high for all hits except the final hit has been reduced so that the opponent should be a little more stable in there. The hitbox has also been expanded upwards so that it's more difficult to whiff. Due to the above changes, distance from the foe on hit has been reduced. So this should mean that Cagliostro gets better Okizeme off of this. A lot of your side swap routes will still work as well. Just to give a demonstration here, and there's probably going to be a lot more implications of the move. Overall, it should probably feel a little bit better to use ult Alexandria, I think, unless there's something I'm missing. The last change to Cagliostro is to her heavy spare body. The block stun on it has been reduced. Previously, Cagliostro was +2 on block, giving her a plus on block way to steal her turn out of the corner again. So, if you corner Cagliostro, she could simply do something like this. As long as she made you block it, then it was her turn. Of course, if she didn't have the spacing correct, then, you know, she would be negative and you'd be able to punish her. They took away 6 frames of block stun, so instead of being +2, it's now -4. So instead of being able to use this at a given moment to sideswap on the opponent and maintain offense, Cagliostro is not going to have to pair this with the activation of her Mehen traps in order to maintain her turn. Courtesy of V-Star Akira on Twitter, we can get a little highlight of the things that Cagliostro can do thanks to these changes. With the fall on close heavy, you get launches with Mehen like this. And then you're actually able to build up your collapse through the combo and get some pretty decent Okizeme. So full charge collapses might actually be a part of Cagliostro's gameplay here. With the new hit stun, you're able to link into Ultimate Alexandria. And again, with Ultimate Calculation, you actually get some pretty decent extensions here. So there's a lot of new toys for Cagliostro to play with, I think. Calculation launch. Safe jump. And again, there just seems to be a lot of opportunities to level up your collapse, which I think is really cool, as it's really an underutilized part of Cagliostro's kit. Honestly, even though that the Mehen duration has been nerfed, I think that Cagliostro has more than enough buffs to actually warrant it, and I think that her 5U is going to see a lot more usage of play. I think this is a pretty cool change for Cagliostro. Overall, I'd argue that Cagliostro is probably walking away with a net positive after this patch. Sure, she has some nerfs, like to the recovery of her 5H, meaning that's going to be less effective as a spammable poke at mid-range, and to the duration of her Mehen traps, but honestly, I think that just over 5 seconds is probably long enough for the traps to remain in play. I mean, most Cagliostros in their setups were already making use of them fairly quickly. You weren't really taking advantage of like the full nearly 10-second duration that they had before. Sure, you know, it's going to be less of a lingering threat in some some neutral situations when you have a lot of advantage or you're able to keep the opponent under duress, but I don't think it's that big of a nerf at the end of the day. Meanwhile, she gets new combo routing that uses a lot of different ultimate skills thanks to the buffs to calculation and its ultimate version, as well as better neutral thanks to the increased tracking on her light and heavy versions of calculations as well. Alexandria seems to be like mostly the same, probably not going to be dropping out as much, so hopefully it's a little more consistent. And it seems like we might see more of her 5U being used thanks to the buffs that it has and just how much more combo friendly it feels. I'm excited to see what Cagliostro players cook up going forward, and I think that overall she's probably going to be mostly the same. The one thing I can say is that her defensive play is definitely weaker thanks to the nerf to her heavy body change, or spare body, I should say. But I don't think that's going to be too big of a detriment for her. You kind of like have to win a situation and then get your side swap using the Mehen traps before you just send out your spare body. So we'll see where Cagliostro goes, but I'm excited to see anything new that the character is able to do going forward.